And I love the fact that you brought up the dynamic between you two, which is something I want to dive into. You guys inspire each other. You guys do motorsports at the highest level. Adam, can you tell us some ways that Colette may inspire you in what you do?
Would you have something to say?
No, I'm just laughing.
Yeah, I'd say like a big inspiration from Colette is she comes from a world of racing that I was never really a part of, whether it's the kind of like, I don't know what you would call it, not white glove racing, but what do you call like the more formal professional racing?
I would say just outside of drift, like the road racing and other forms of motorsport at that level.
Like time attack?
At the higher levels, yeah. So I come from traditional road racing. I was pursuing open wheel IndyCar racing when I first started my racing career. So I would say a little more like polished and strict forms of racing versus like this very expressive and fluid and stylistic form of motorsport that we see in drift.
Where I came from, BMX, which is like very much so like subculture. There's no rules. You do whatever you want, and drifting somewhere in between. And I always wanted to, like, she presents herself very professionally. She knows how to put together a sponsorship deck. She knows the right things to say, how to talk on camera, like all those things. If you're in that racing world, like, not that you were trying to go into F1, but like that's the trajectory of like how you need to be. And I never experienced anything like that. So to be able to see her and how well she does on camera and like how well she presents herself, that was definitely something that was a big inspiration to me.
That's huge. That's huge. How'd you guys meet?
I'd say the car community, at least like the online car content community, was very small or smaller, like say 5, 6.
You gotta tell the actual story.
Well, first
this is
of
my
all,
favorite story.
We knew of each other because of like, automotive content creation, kind of a small world. But also he loves to say that I slid in his DMs. I don't know.
You slid in his DMs?
It wasn't really.
He loves to say that I slid in his DMs, and it was for a show that was like, it was one of those YouTube content networks, back in the day, like maybe Network A. I don't know. There's a bunch of them back in the day, and it was for a show, and I reached out in his DMs to see if he wanted to film and be a part of this show.
She asked me if I wanted to drive a rally car. And of course I said yes. That was like my dream. I was like,
that was part of the concept of the show was to. Like,
that was the big deal to me at that point in time. I was like, I'm going to get to be a part of a Red Bull rally car thing. Heck yeah, I'm down. Yeah. And then ghosted me for years. Never responded.
Wow.
Okay, the show didn't end up happening. All right. I don't know, just one of those things where it was going to be like a trading spaces. I put him in my rally cars. I think I was racing Global Rallycross at the time.
Right.
And then I do drift stuff with him or vice versa. And then the show didn't happen, man. It wasn't my fault. But that's not, you'd love to say I just slid in his DMs. So technically that's how we first came in contact, I guess.
And then a couple years went by and then.
Yeah, we had like met in person once at SEMA, like, I don't know, a couple years later. And then a couple years after that was when we started hanging out more. I think it was during like one of the drift weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think technically you slid back into my DMs years later because you were commenting on my R7 FC that was at SEMA saying how cool it was.
She has a very, very unique approach. And on that car it was very cool how all the different colors kind of went. Like that to me was like a car that like I would show my friends and be like, yo, the interior in this car is crazy.
Right.
Because I feel like people were kind of doing the same thing over and over and over again. And you had the wild colors with the sparkles and the white seats, which like you don't do that in a drift car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was like very like eye-catching and appealing.
Yeah.
And now you guys are both doing big things at a high level and like inspiring millions of people, like, and it's amazing to see.
It's funny because I told myself I would never date a car guy.
Really?
I definitely told myself that before Adam, and like I've never been with someone that is like also into cars, so I just think it's funny that this was like a relationship where we both had to learn a lot of things. Where like you're fighting over like car space and build space, so it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's funny.
I've always wondered what that would even be like, because it's like both you guys are car enthusiasts, so you got to spend twice the amount of money and you have twice the amount of dreams, and here we are at the LZ compound, and it's like you guys are doing things at a level that I've never even seen before. How is it working together? Do you guys are you guys always on the same frequency? Like,
I feel like one interesting thing is like, you know, you can boil it down to be like generic as like, okay, car guy, car girl. But on the surface, I think what was really cool is I had never in my life met someone as driven as she was. And like, I'm a super driven person. I'm a workaholic. She was also a workaholic. So I think that was a really cool thing. And that was even more impactful than the fact that we were both into cars, is being with someone that was like that driven to go push themselves, to push their career, to push their goals.
Or someone that understood and to kind of relate if you felt like that was a little isolating or different, or maybe you're with someone that didn't understand as much or hadn't had that like full feeling of understanding.
Yeah.
So that's
a really good point, because a lot of people think like everything is sunshine and rainbows, like, but in reality is you're working all the time and you're always competing with yourself, and that's the hardest person to compete with. Everyone thinks that you're competing with other people, but in reality it's you got to be better than yourself every day, and you go through different challenges, and then doing the things that you guys do at the level you guys do, it's like now you guys get to, you know, give each other knowledge and help each other grow, and then also feed a whole community of car enthusiasts. And you guys still young, right? And you have a huge impact on car culture. Do you understand like what weight that holds between you both? Like, you guys direct where car culture will be in the next 20, 30, 40 years. Like, you guys make the decisions for what's going to happen in the future. Do you guys ever think about that together?
I wouldn't say we like necessarily like talk. I mean, even like just talking about it now, I don't really think about it much. I just have always like kind of done what I wanted rather than like I probably should think about it more. Like, I think back to like the days when we like really made 350Zs a popular drift car, and I feel bad that I didn't run a front bumper, because I think everyone should run a front bumper. And I feel like I didn't run a front bumper, and then a lot of people also started not running front bumpers. But to be fair, I was copying my friend Matt the Ginge. I feel like he really started the 350Z wave, because, you know, we all had our broken cars all the time, and then he learns how to drift, shows up at the track in a 350Z, drives so much that he's better than us in like 3 events. And we're just like, all right, we all need 350Zs now. But
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
People you don't have a bumper.
Oh yeah, I have a 350Z, lost the front bumper. I haven't taken the time to put a new one on. And, you know, I just haven't been pressured to. But hearing this now, I'm like a little bit ashamed. I'm going to go get a full kit.
You shouldn't be ashamed. I don't know. It's just like...
Should drift cars be clean? Like, you think they should all be clean?
No. I think like I like a car that has like some nice like scrapes and like banged up stuff around it. But like, you should still care to a certain extent, right? Like, you don't have to repaint your car all the time. But like, yo, if you can rattle can a panel and at least make it match the color, or like attach your bumper instead of having it like lopsided, you know?